All right. Good evening, everyone. Hey, it's Mick. Look at that. I think we're ready to get started. Yes, we're ready? Okay. So I think folks know we're also live streaming this for folks who can't be here. So if there's any awkward pauses, it's the live stream's fault, not mine. So I'll just want to start by welcoming everyone to New Jewish Narratives Gala evening of community and connection. My name is Mick Moore. I am a proud board member of NJN, longtime board member. I'm excited to see so many other board members here. And I will be your host for the evening and taking you through the program. We are really glad that you're here tonight during what's really a momentous moment of shift, change, and hopefully peace. I think I speak for all of us when I say my head is still spinning from the events of the past week. It's been challenging to know exactly what to prepare to say tonight as we gather with the winds of hope for the first time in a long time. What I do know is we have a tremendous lineup of speakers, performers, honorees, and friends joining us over the course of the evening. Some are here in the room, which is incredible. Others will be joining us by video. And there are prepared video remarks, which you'll see on the screens, so that those folks can be here as well, sending their support and love and encouragement for the work that all of us are doing together. To start off, we have a message of hope from two of our closest partners and allies in peacemaking, who many of you had the chance to meet recently when they spoke here in New York. Aziz Sara and Maoz Inon epitomize the spirit of what it means to be human and compassionate, to be hopeful, and to understand the long road it takes to build peace. Aziz and Maoz.
Greetings, our friends in the New Jewish Narrative. We are very grateful to be with you through this camera. We are in Nazareth right now. This is where we do a lot of work, Maoz and I, all through Israel and Palestine. We've become friends, unfortunately, through our tragedies. My brother was killed in the first Intifada when I was 10 years old, and Maoz's parents were killed on October 7th. And despite the horrors we've gone through, and despite everything that is happening now, we have decided to take a path that leads us towards peace and leads us toward an end of wars and conflict and horrors and massacres and so on, and to take us towards sustainable and just peace for both of our people.
Yes, so hi, also for me, Aziz and I are not just friends, we are brothers. On October 7th, I lost my both parents, Bila and Jacobi, but I won Aziz as a brother. And in the last 2 years, we've been working together, creating hope, sowing the seeds of the future, the seeds of forgiveness, and together we're envisioning a lasting peace between Palestinians and Israelis by 2030. And to achieve that, we need your support. We need you to partner with us and to work together to envision a better future for both people and to act together to make this future into reality. So we want to thank you for your ongoing support and partnership, and we are looking forward to work together in the future to achieve what we all deserve, Palestinians and Israelis and the entire humanity, to live in equality, to live in dignity, in security, and in safety. So it's time to bring this vision into life and to make it happen here between the Jordan River and to the Mediterranean Sea, for all 14 million people living on this holy land nowadays.
Yeah, and for the New Jewish Narrative, we are very grateful because you have been our partners for a long time. Maoz and I, every time we work, especially in the US, we've been partnering with you, and we are very grateful for this partnership, for the friendship, and because this is how it works. Without a coalition of all of us coming together, there is no way this would end.
Yeah, and the first step that we also need to take is to dream together, because in the journey that Aziz and I have been taking for the last 2 years, we've been meeting faith leaders, spiritual leaders, neuroscience, and we learned that the only way to change reality, the nightmare we are living within, is by offering an alternative dream, an alternative vision that is rooted in all the prophets and the prophecy of the prophets of three Abrahamic religion, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So rooted back in our history and in our legacy, we want to bring it back to life and to dream together with you and with everyone that are living here on this land.
Yeah.
See you soon. Love and peace.
Thank you so much, Aziz and Maoz, for your partnership and for your work. Now I have the pleasure of welcoming one of my board colleagues. Joanne, Mort, and I have been doing this work together for a very long time. Joanne has just published her first book of poetry and is here to read some for us. Joanne.
Thank you. I'm going to read, the book is called A Precise Chaos. You can get it at your local bookstore. I'm going to read two poems, one about Palestine, or as I call it, the non-Palestine, and one about Israel. This first poem, just to explain, I guess, two things in it. I mentioned the neighborhood Beit Hanina, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. It's an East Jerusalem neighborhood, Palestinian, and pretty much everybody there has no citizenship or national identity card or passport. And the other thing is that Jericho is it was the city that had that was part of the original Oslo Accords, so it doesn't normally have as much security in it, and it's also a vacation village for a lot of wealthy Palestinians, especially from East Jerusalem. Nighttime in Jericho. Sometimes an evening with friends begins so simply that the geopolitics disappear, at least through cocktails. On this winter night in Jericho, 8 days into the new year, a still and temperate dark night, we gather outside near the backyard pool with blankets and hookahs, wine goblets stained in a deep red. There are no checkpoints to enter Jericho. Just two tired Palestinian guards seated on the side of the road. The empty casino with its gigantic promise of cross-border commerce and hijinks on one side and a Palestinian prison on the other. The quiet coffee shops line up as we drive to the end of town where the vacation villas are to eat and drink amid ouds and tiny drums. But by dessert, when the arak flows and the dinner that began near midnight becomes a sleepy pre-dawn offering, the storytelling and laughter mutate into a fury not found elsewhere on this vast globe. We look around the room, pick out the fortunate ones, a Spanish journalist, me, the American Jew from Brooklyn, a Tel Avivi musician, and then the rest who return home to Beit Hanina, the neighborhood without passports. There is that time in the evening, always, when the toasts are finished and the light touch on the knee, friend to friend, snaps apart like the broken head of a doll. When the wine stops flowing and the motors start up, everyone returns to their corners in this endless fight, not simply for survival, but for its gilded lining. Excuse me. And this next poem, I don't think I need to explain a lot of it to the people in this room. There are names of people you'll recognize in it from our antecedents. This poem was written in the 1980s. When I wrote it, I was working on a book about the privatization of the kibbutzim, and that's what inspired this poem. Now, when I read it and when people listen to it, it gives a very different sense about what's going on in Israel. See if you agree. Also, it's a story in the poem about Rachel, who was a founding poet, one of the first poets in Israel, in the Kinneret Cemetery. That's the name of the poem. She's buried there, and next to her grave, there is a hollow bench. It's sort of every poet's dream. There's a hollow bench. You open the bench, her books are in it. You close the bench, you sit on the bench, you read her poems next to her grave and overlooking the Kinneret. There's an epigraph from the Psalms, "Whither shall I go from the Spirit?" In the Kinneret Cemetery. In this country, even the ghosts have ghosts. Here, the dead hold national congresses. Moses Hess, Nachman Sirkin, Ber Borachov, and lonely Rachel, thrown from her perfect land swell. What good was a poet with poisoned lungs in a land where revolutionaries were farmers, dreamers of a modern day Eden? Oh, Rachel, tell the seekers who drop pebbles on your headstone, who sit between your spirit and the water, who read from the pages of your verse stored in a vault by the sea. Say what will become of us? What will we become?
Thank you, Joanne. Before I bring up our next guest, I'm curious, just by round of applause, how many Habonim alumni are in the room? All right. So I will say I come on the recent merger. I come out of the APN side of the merger, and one of the things I was most excited about was to have Habonim now part of the family that I'm a part of, because both of my kids have come through Habonim, and it's among the best parenting decisions that I ever made. Yes, Moshava, for those keeping track. So I am thrilled to invite up Gaby Alter, who will offer us a musical interlude.
Plug this in. Thank you, everyone. I'm a longtime friend of Hadar's from Moshava, from Habonim Dror. And I wrote the song with an assist from Jessie Romer, who's also Moshava. And many of you know her. And we were just trying to think of what would be a good song for tonight, and so ended up writing this song. Woke up this morning, sun changed, the light through my window wasn't the same. Storm clouds had lifted, the air was cool and bright, and a white dove drifted in and out of sight. It's a new morning. It's a blue sky. Another chance to seize the moment. Another chance to try. I can hear it in silence. I can feel it in the breeze. Hope I was afraid to feel, starting to unfreeze. So many that we lost forever, and some that are coming home. Can their light become a hammer to break apart the stone? It's a blue sky. sky. Another chance to seize the moment. Another chance to try to reimagine why sun still high. Try to rewrite the story for all their lives, all our lives. Try to find a way forward, unshackled by the weight of the past, to make a world where every life's holy, peace can last. Peace can last. Can we rebuild it now together? Make what was not what will be. World where all of us have justice. Where everyone is safe and free. The tools we need aren't only those that are forged with fire and steel. We need the ones that we all carry within us to build something real. It's a new morning. It's a blue sky. Another chance to seize the moment. Another chance to try. Thank you.
Thank you, Gaby. So next, I want to note, if you were looking at your program, MK Ayman Odeh was supposed to be joining us with a video this evening, but circumstances beyond his control have prevented his appearance. But we are delighted to share these next remarks from one of our friends and partners in Israel, Yair Golan.
Hello, I'm Yair Golan, and I am so pleased to be with you tonight, my friends from New Jewish Narrative. One of the things I most admire about the New Jewish Narrative and your work is your willingness to challenge the status quo and speak out against the things that are detrimental to the cause of peace and justice. Just as being against Hamas is not anti-Palestinian, calling out the action of the current Israeli government is not anti-Israel. In fact, it's pro-Israel. It means never forgetting that we are a democracy, not an autocracy, and that we still have the crucial goal to be a country of all our citizens. How important it is for us, then, to hear from the diaspora, Jewish community, the community of New Jewish Narrative, to join us, the Israelis, who still believe in a better future by speaking up and out against this failed government. You are partners. New Jewish Narrative knows that when hundreds of thousands of Israelis take to the streets, we are standing up for democracy, standing up for peace. And we know that you are with us, standing up for what is just and right in your country and ours. And we also know that together we are stronger. Together we will win. Thank you again for inviting me to this important evening of connection and community. I'm proud to be a partner with New Jewish Narrative and also happy to be with you as you honor my friend, my wonderful friend, Ken Bob.
All right, thank you, Yair. Now we are going to be joined by our fearless leader and my good friend, Hadar Susskind, for some special remarks and introduction.
First of all, always try to follow someone who doesn't speak English that well. Shalom חברים, shalom חברות, כמה טוב שבאתם הביתה. Hello friends, how good it is that you are all home. These words were sung with joy in Israel this past week. We also know all the sorrow they carried. But I say them today with joy because we know a home is a building, a home is a place, but a home is also community. And tonight, we are all home. So thank you for being here. These last weeks have been a whirlwind. These last months have been a challenge. And these last years, I don't even know what to say about those. Yeah. But with all the challenges, with all the sorrows and the hardships, we have also been building something together. We have been building something new. We have been building a new movement. We have been building a new organization. And we have, yes, been building a new narrative. Because our old stories, our old policies, our old positions and actions weren't enough. We can sit here and I'm happy to tell you afterward all the ones I think were wrong the whole time, but that's not really the point. The point is that as the world changes, particularly Israel and Palestine, if we want to hold to a vision that includes a better future for those people, a better future for Israeli children, a better future for Palestinian children, whether they're in Gaza, West Bank, Jerusalem, in Israel for that matter, we need to do more and we need to do better. And that's not an easy thing to come to as a conclusion individually, and it's certainly not an easy thing to come to as a conclusion organizationally. We wouldn't be here today, I certainly wouldn't be standing here today if it weren't for the incredible leadership of our board. I want to ask actually all of our board members to stand up real quick. There are a lot of you here. Come on, I'm going to make you do it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. You're going to hear from Tom and Nomi, our board chairs, shortly, so I'll leave them to their remarks, and you'll hear more from Ken, who, along with Jim Klutznick, really helped bring our organizations together to build this new organization and frame this new narrative. But we are all here because we couldn't sit quietly by, right? We're all here because, I don't know, every time everyone said to me, why don't you go do something else? Aside from I don't know how to do anything else, there was also, I can't walk away, right? I've tried. I have, some of you know it. I've taken breaks here and there. But I come back to this because I care about what's happening there. Like I said, I care about those Israeli children and those Palestinian children, and I care about the vision that I have held for my whole life. Some of you here I've known for a long time. One of you I've known literally my whole life. Hello, my sister's here. I've held this vision of not only what Israel is, but what we want it to be. And so often in our community, we feel that clash, as there are people who only live in the what they want it to be without acknowledging the what it is, without acknowledging the challenges and the horrors and all of the other things that have happened over these years and are happening. There are others, of course, who only live in that and have no vision of what they want it to be, either because they don't want it to be anything or, I don't know, they just don't have that. For me, the whole purpose of our work, the whole purpose of us being together and building this movement is to bring those things together, to acknowledge today, and as Aziz and Maoz were talking about, to dream about tomorrow, right? But the dream, we all know the line, I won't use it, right? The dream is only worth something if we do it. If we sit here and pretend that that's what's real, that's not a dream, that's a fantasy. And again, far too many people want to stay in that nice little safe place. For me, we have to take the reality, we have to take the dream, and we have to bring them together. That is our work. We could not do that work without all of you, without all of your support. Again, I called out our board already. I want to thank our incredible staff. I don't know where all the staff are, but if the staff can stand up for a minute, some of them are maybe still hiding in the hall. Madeline, Eli, Max, Noam, Rob, wherever you are, where I can't see you, Rob, back there, and Karen, who we owe all of the thanks for tonight. Thank you, Karen. Not only would we not be doing this, we really wouldn't be doing anything. I also want to thank Gilly Getz, who is with us tonight, taking the pictures, but also all those pictures out there that you see are Gilly's work. Gilly, for those of you who don't know him, is the photographer of our movement. Every event, every protest, everything in here, in Israel, you will find this man taking pictures. Thank you so much. Okay, I promised I wouldn't go on too long. I can keep rambling. I just want to say, you know, we are building this with a lot of hard work. We are building this with your support, and we are building this with love. And that's really important. And that's not actually always the thing I've said. Again, some of you I've known for a long time, right? I come out of the government relations side of this work. My job is usually like arguing with annoying senators or things like that. But this moment in these last few years and what I see as the path we need going forward is not just a bill or a resolution or a letter some organizations sign. It has to be putting love into this world. It has to be bringing people together. We have some amazing partners who are here with us tonight, who you're going to hear from later, about how we come together as people to care about each other as people and to build that better future together. And that is why we are all here. Thank you so much for being with us. And I forgot the thing I was supposed to do. Thanks for reminding me, Mick, because that's why he's the MC. The very exciting part is that now we are going to hear from a longtime friend, a longtime champion, a longtime partner of so many of ours, the amazing David Broza.
Hello, everybody. Hello, the NJN, the new Jewish narrative. It is an honor for me to be able to speak to you and sing to you. But I want to congratulate you on this night of the annual gala for all the work you do towards peace in these very, very difficult times. I'm not sure how one gets about to promote the projects and the ideas, but if you don't have faith, then I guess you cannot do it. And with the new Jewish narrative, it was all about building faith, keeping the spirit. And what I have is a song to sing, which I've been singing for 48 years, right from the start of the peace process, back in 1977. Same song, sometimes different verses and new situations as we see many new situations down the road. So here's my token song. Yeh tov, things will be better. They must be better. אני מביט מהחלון, זה עושה לי די עצוב. אביב חלף עבר, מי יודע אם ישוב. הליצן היה במלך, תביני הליצן, ושכחתי את דרך. אבל אני עוד כאן, ויהיה. אז הלילה עולה ילדים נפל הצפה ואחרי שנתיים ללא תשובה אנשים חיים בנתח סיום סיבה לבדוק מדברים על השלום. אז הלילה, הלילה, בבית, ואני מביט למעלה. ממשלה של כן אני מחלקת את הנור לשלהם ולשלה. הייתי הכל. תמיד בעיניים בשלום ונפטר. ואמרנו, היי, נשלים ומועלים. מהשטחים במקום זה אמיתי, אני מביט מהחלום. בינתיים עצי כף ידי אני מהחלום. מתי מגיע יום חדש.
All right, thank you, Hadar. Thank you, David. So next up, we get to meet one of my favorite stand-up comedians. You can catch her special, A Jewish Star on YouTube, Ariel, Elias. You probably have never followed David Broza before, so first time for everything. And then after Ariel, we're going to get a message from our partner at Shalom Akshav, Lior Amihai, and then our friends from Habonim Dror North America, Jenny, Maya, and Helen will join us on the stage. But first up, Ariel.
Thank you so much. I have a different vibe. I know when Mick said this next person is my favorite comedian. I know a lot of you were expecting Alex Edelman. I'm so sorry. The honorarium was too low for that. Thank you guys so much for being here. And so I know you're all sacrificing the mayoral debate to be here, so I appreciate that. When I was walking here, I heard this guy behind me say, if Andrew Cuomo wins, I'll move to New York City. And I was like, wait, who's that guy? So I turned around. It was Andrew Cuomo. What's that? No, it's a very hard time to be Jewish right now. I don't know when an easy time was because I know our history, but it's also a very hard time to be Muslim right now. There was a study that found that anti-Semitic attacks are on the rise, but so are anti-Muslim attacks. Those are also on the rise. And when I read that, for me, that was such a good reminder of how much Jews and Muslims have in common. And like, I don't know how we get to this place, but I have to believe that it's possible, that we find a way to take all of this energy that we spend fighting each other and figure out how to put it aside and come together and defeat the Christians. We got to stop fighting over Jerusalem and take over the Christian Holy Land. And I know some of you are smart and you're like, no, that's also Jerusalem. No, 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 it's Cracker Barrel on a Sunday after church. That's what they got there. Also, if you're here, if you're somebody's +1 and you're Christian, I'm just kidding. I don't mean it. I don't mean it at all. I grew up in Kentucky, so all of my friends growing up were very Christian. And I was so proud of being Jewish growing up. And then one friend invited me over for Christmas, and I was like, oh, this is so much better. Christmas is incredible. I didn't know, but Christmas is it's so good. It's like Christmas. Christmas is so much better than all of our holidays. You know how I know? Is most of the Christmas songs were written by Jews. You know, there were all these Jewish musicians who had like a cozy song in their heart and wrote it down, and they were like, which Jewish holiday should we get? Oh, none of them? Okay, we have to give it to Christmas. Every Christmas song is cozy and lovely and about chestnuts, and then the one Jewish song that everybody knows is Dreidel, which is just a song about a man who goes up to a child and is like, do you want to learn how to gamble? There's a lot of rules. It's not fun. Our miracles aren't as fun as their miracles. I think we have to admit it. We have to admit our miracles aren't as fun. The first Christian miracle I learned was that Jesus turned water into wine. That's awesome. And not just because that's the only thing they're serving. That's so great. That sounds like a frat guy made it up. I love that miracle. The Jewish miracle all of my friends learned first was the miracle of Hanukkah. The miracle of Hanukkah is that the oil lasted for 8 days when it was only supposed to last for 1. Ta-da! That sucks. That doesn't feel like a good miracle for Jews to celebrate, by the way, that the oil lasted for 8 days when it was only supposed to last for 1 day. To me, that sounds like we're celebrating that we got a deal on oil, which feels like we're reinforcing a stereotype, and I don't love that. And like some Jewish stereotypes are true, for sure. They're like we have a lot of doctors. That's a true Jewish stereotype. I learned that when I went to a Jewish wedding, and at the wedding there was a woman who fainted, and then the person next to her yelled out, "Is there a doctor?" Yeah. Yeah, they yelled back. They were like, "What specialty do you need?" There were so many. It was like going up to a bunch of golden retrievers and yelling, "Jake!" Like they're gonna come. They respond. They respond. No, my relationship with Judaism is always complicated because I grew up in Kentucky. So I was the only Jew of all of my friends when I was growing up. And I will say, I didn't face a lot of anti-Semitism growing up in Kentucky because in order to hate Jews, you have to like know what one is. So that wasn't so much an issue. The hardest thing for me was getting people to pronounce my name. Because Jews say it one way, which is Ariel. But my dad is Sephardic, he's Spanish, and Spanish people say it Ariel. But in Kentucky, they say it Earl. My best friend's dad was always like, "Earl coming over today?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there for sure." It's tough. My parents are not from Kentucky, they're from New Jersey, and I don't think they understood what it meant to raise Jewish kids in Kentucky because when I was in high school, my parents sat me down and they said, "Hey, we know you're gonna start dating soon, and we just wanna let you know that whoever you're into, whether you're into boys or girls or anyone in between, it doesn't matter to us. As long as they're Jewish." Exactly. I heard a few people say it. That's like a fun thing about doing this joke in front of a Jewish crowd is it becomes like a call and response. Yes, as long as they're Jewish. That's what they said to me. In Kentucky. That leaves 2 people. It's my dad or my brother. Those are the choices. Which in Kentucky is fine, but they're not my type. I did get told I was going to hell growing up. I got told that quite a bit, but it always came from a place of love, which is so confusing. Right. I remember the first time I heard it, I was in middle school, and my friend came up to me and she said, Earl, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but we learned in Sunday school that because you're a Jewish, it means you're going to hell. And I was like, oh, wow. You think about me on the weekends? That's so nice. You guys are so nice. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you for being here for a good cause. I'm Ariel Elias.
Finally, some news. After 2 years of a terrible war, we're now in a ceasefire. With the hostages back home, the end of the war marks a critical and meaningful stage. For the first time in a long while, we can breathe again. After 2 horrific years, we're facing a historic opportunity, an opportunity to end the conflict, to end the occupation, and to achieve peace that ensures the security and freedom of everyone living in this land. These past weeks have shown us the power of agreements. They end wars, bring hostages home, and deliver security. Now, we must make sure that the current ceasefire deal becomes, down the road, a peace agreement, and ultimately, a two-state solution. Israel and Palestine, side by side, is more important than ever. This will be an incredibly difficult mission. In Israel's government today sit some of the most messianic and extremist figures we've ever seen. They know that every extra day that they remain in power, they can advance their mission to destroy the very possibility of peace and security, the very possibility of a Palestinian state. History shows that change is possible. Nations consumed by violence have found the courage to choose another path. Path of recognition, reconciliation, and a shared future. It always feels impossible until one day becomes the obvious thing to do. A vast majority of Israelis support the agreement that ended the war. Most support a Palestinian state as part of a political agreement. Most do not want Netanyahu as prime minister. Deep down, we all know the truth. There is no other solution. This is why we choose hope. We choose hope by acting on it, by taking real steps to build a future of dignity and peace. And while we cannot do it alone, we know we're not alone. Across the ocean, New Jewish Narrative stands with us in this mission. Thank you for being a light in the darkness and for being our partners in this struggle. That bond between us makes both of us stronger. I want to give a special thank you to Louis Lehner, whose generosity and commitment went above and beyond. Your matching grant, supported by so many of you here tonight, allowed us to do so much more. Thanks to you, our flagship program, the Settlement Watch team, has reached record impact. We could not have done it without your partnership. As Israelis and American Jews, as partners across oceans, we're proving that even if today our voice is not the dominant one, we will not stop. We will keep working, keep fighting, and keep building a better future. Freedom and dignity for Palestinians, security and democracy for Israelis, and integrity for Jewish communities everywhere. And yes, our day will come. We will see the fruits of our work, and we will stand proud. Thank you for being with us.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. How are you guys doing tonight? Good. Good. Great. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for New Jewish Narrative for putting this amazing night together. And thank you so much for having us. My name is Jenny Sherman, and I'm the Mazkirah for Habanim Dror North America. Woo! Yeah, so for those of you who don't know us, we're a progressive labor Zionist youth movement. I'm sure there are many Habanim alumni in the crowd, which I think we've already covered tonight. But for those of you who are familiar with Ken's illustrious history, you'd understand why we might jump at the opportunity to celebrate with him tonight. Ken embodies the spirit of a true Habanim Boger, or graduate. Ken You've shown us a strong commitment to your values through your pivotal role in the creation of a menu and your devotion to creating a progressive labor Zionist voice in North America. Whenever you saw that there was a need, you responded to it in true Chalutzik fashion. And although it's been some years since your time in the youth movement, you've continued to show a steadfast commitment to Habonim. Fostering the voice of the youth wasn't just a phase, it was and still is a philosophy that you continually upheld. It's so rare for us to find such committed partners who truly understand the essence of youth empowerment and better yet, who advocate for it. That support is so meaningful now more than ever as we find ourselves at such a crucial moment in the Jewish world. Your commitment to progressive labor Zionism continues to be such a dugma, or example, role model to us in the movement through such a difficult period. Thank you for showing us what can be done and continuing to help us find our way. We also want to thank the team at New Jewish Narrative. The merger between Amenu and Americans for Peace Now is coming at such a crucial moment in the Jewish world, and we're so happy for you for this amazing accomplishment. It's clear that we as progressive Jews have a task in front of us right now, and that's being the voice for a more democratic and just Israeli society. Thank you for continuing the work, even when the going gets tough. We're excited to continue collaborating and to build something filled with more hope in the future. Alev v'Hag Shem.
All right. Thank you, Earl. Thank you, Lior. Thank you, Jenny. Next up, we get to hear from one of our favorite Israeli comedians and a good friend for many of us, including myself, Noam Shuster-Eliassi. If you haven't already seen the incredible film about her work titled Coexistence My Ass, it will be coming to select US theaters starting October 29th here in New York City. I highly recommend it. So here's Noam.
Oh, hello. Hi, everyone. Did Mick just introduce me in a really special, nice way? Thank you, Mick. I love you too. I wish I was there with you in person, but I'm not. And I am in my little hometown, which you can see some behind me. It is, maybe some of you know it, the Oasis of Peace. Waht Salam in Arabic, Neve Shalom in Hebrew. Every time I write Neve Shalom on my iPhone, it autocorrects it to Never Shalom. So here I am sitting in Never Shalom, the only place where still Palestinian families and Jewish families choose on purpose to live together. And this is a tiny village. This is where I am right now. And I think that the fact that you're there and I'm here with a lot of stubborn people who are still here gives me a glimpse of hope. We don't have a privilege to give up. I'm sure many of you are depressed and sad with what's going on. Me too. I'm just a few dozen kilometers from Gaza. Sometimes I can hear the echoes of explosions all the way to here. And my hope is that by the time this video is screened to you, maybe we will already have a news of a ceasefire. Amen. Amen. While I really don't want to thank Benjamin Netanyahu and Trump for a ceasefire, I do think that we need any glimpse of hope and something to hold on to hang on to, in order to see something better and something brighter than what this darkness is right now. So I want to thank you for being present, for having hard conversations, for not giving up on you, on us, on all the people who are still fighting for some sanity on this land. And not just here, also anywhere else. Because if there is something that we've learned for these past painful 2 years, is that we cannot disconnect ourselves from each other. All the suffering and all the pain that is happening here directly affects you, and what is happening there directly affects us, and there is just no way to disconnect it. And my hope and my blessing to you for this new year is that we hold on to this glimpse of hope, to glimpses of cracks, I would call them, cracks of hope, cracks of light. Hold on to people who are believers, who just refuse to give up. Um, I really hope that by the time you see this message, this is over. People in Gaza have access to food, to medicine. The bombing, the displacement stops. The hostages get back home, and we will be able to slowly find a way out of this darkness. Thank you so much for attending and for being here. And hopefully next time I'll be with you in person. Bye.
I will say the movie also has jokes, so it's not just serious. Noam. All right. Next up is a very special guest who I have to admit I have not seen in a minute. A really important partner in progressive circles, Ambassador Patrick Gaspard of the Center for American Progress.
Good evening, friends. I have to say it's really challenging to have to follow somebody whose opening line is coexistence my ass. You know, it's a little tough. I'm going to tell you something here. I'm going to confess that while I'm honored to be with you, it was terribly difficult to pull myself away from where I was scheduled to be tonight. I was across town at 30 Rock, where there's a particular, little mayoral debate that's taking place right now. But your leader is incredibly clever because he tricked me with a little bit of bait. He told me that if I came, I'd get to hang out with Mandy Patinkin. So it was like, it was Mandy Zoran, Mandy Zoran. Pretty tough call to make. Now, in addition to being extraordinarily clever, Hadar is also an exceptional humanitarian at a time when those values and voices like his have become a rare and precious commodity in our nation and in our world. Much is made in our political discourse about the need for increased bipartisanship. Tragically, there's no shortage of bipartisanship when it comes to displaying a lack of empathy for those who are most vulnerable in times of conflict. Hadar leans radically into his empathy and his fundamental hopefulness, even as he forces all of us to have some really discomforting dialogues. And he and I were joined at the hip for too many uncomfortable dialogues over the course of a difficult last 2 years when we would take ourselves to the White House and the Eisenhower Executive Office building for meetings with national security staff and with State Department staff. And he always had a moral clarity in those discussions and managed to figure out how to center both communities that are imperiled, that have been imperiled through this very, very long, protracted conflict. There are too many leaders in the world that I get to work with every single day who put their fingers up in the air to determine which way the wind is blowing. But your leader is a wind shifter. All of you are, every single person here, all the members of the board, the members of your staff, all of you who are helping to put scaffolding around this new Jewish narrative are wind shifters. Your narrative is capacious and it is broad and deep enough to enable all of us to locate our truths within it. There are so many of us who have our own Jewish story. I see my brother from another mother, Herbert Block, who's here with me, who was in the deep trenches in the streets when we tried to keep our city together some decades ago. I happen to have been raised. If my Haitian mother were here, she would tell you that my real mother was a Jewish woman named Susan Feingold, who was a Holocaust survivor, a pioneer in the Head Start movement here in America, someone who sat me down at an early age and told me that I should always be vigilant and on my guard because at any moment, things that seem normal in our society could be turned on its head, and people who were in company with you, breaking bread with you, looking eye to eye to you, would suddenly not be able to look at you anymore and would turn you into something else. I feel as if I am living the warning of my second mom, Susan Feingold, at this moment when fascist, fundamentalists, and felons are running amok and trying to push aside those of us who have a moral compass, but we won't allow them to win. All of you here, all of you, I'm inspired by all of you because you're relentlessly aspirational, but you hold up your aspiration even as you acknowledge realities, not just acknowledging our hopes. You help us all to gain a purchase on the state that we want, even as you boldly engage with the reality of the state that we actually exist in. You prioritize peace, yes, but you also prioritize justice. Tonight, this gathering has the feel of a festival of Thanksgiving. In this hour of ceasefire and the release of captives, we can and we must celebrate this. I'm reminded of Bertolt Brecht's question in the dark times, will there be dancing? Yes, there will be singing and dancing, ... about the dark times. But even as these celebrations take place, the dancing and the singing must be muted by the weight of uncertainty about what comes next. We're at a remote distance still from the absolute security for all and a durable peace that will only come from true sovereignty for two peoples. We have to hold that forward. About a year and a half ago, I had the horrifying privilege, I'll call it, the horrifying privilege to be in Israel and at the border and then at the West Bank to engage with leaders in civil society and those who were victims of October 7th. I got to visit with a leader in a kibbutz that had been overrun on October 7th, an extraordinary woman. She was about yay tall, but she seemed like a giant to me. She had been in the kibbutz her entire life, and she walked me and other participants out right to the edge where the attack had taken place. And she helped me to understand that we were looking out over a patch that had been a watermelon field. And she told me that as a child, she crossed across that field constantly to go to the beach and to go to Palestinian vendors on the other side of that watermelon patch. And that as a child, she always dreamt that one day she'd be in that field with Palestinian children with their faces painted, their hands being held and dancing and circling together. Then she looked at me and she said, I no longer have that dream that we're going to dance together. And then she said, I don't even want to have coffee with them, but I know that my peace depends on their peace. And I hope that your leaders can recognize that. And then she said, please, when you go back home, pray, post, and protest for all of us who are enduring this. So it's still a really remote piece. I think about her every single day. And I also think every single day about my sister here, Hala, who has lost and continues to lose family in Gaza. She's lost too many relatives than she dare even name and count still. It's been a painful experience every time I get a message from my sister with horrible news back home. So I'm thinking about my sister in the watermelon patch and my sister here, Hala, and trying to think about how we bridge that divide. Hala, I think about the words of the Arabic poet Etel Adnan, who said, where do you want ghost to reside? In our wakeful hours, there are flowers which produce nightmares. We burned continents into silence. We burned out the future of nations. And she's right. And I also think about one of my favorite poets, the Israeli poet, Yehuda Amihai, who wrote in The Diameter of the Bomb about how every single bomb that's dropped everywhere has a radius that goes way beyond the point of impact and reaches up to the throne of God and beyond, making a circle with no end and no God. We together, through the new Jewish narratives, are trying to determine how we close the radius of that diameter of every single one of those bombs. And that's why it was easy to pull myself away from my friend Zoran to come and be able to join you in company, in communion, and in contestation for the hearts and minds of so many people who need to be persuaded towards a lasting and durable peace. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your courage. And thank you so much for recognizing that coexistence is damn hard, but worth the price of love. Appreciate you.
All right. I am so excited that we are at the moment where our first award of the evening will be presented. I want to invite Lisa Greer, NJN board member, who will join us live on video to present the Congressional Champion of Justice Award to Congresswoman Sara Jacobs.
Wonderful, thank you. It's my great honor to present New Jewish Narrative's Congressional Champion of Justice Award to Congresswoman and third-term Congresswoman Sara Jacobs. When Congresswoman Jacobs first came to Congress, she was one of the youngest members and to many a relative newcomer to politics. But it quickly became clear that she wasn't there to make noise, she was there to make a difference. From the beginning, she approached complex global issues with humility, curiosity, and an unusual depth of understanding. Representing San Diego, she has never confined her leadership to her district. She's emerged as a national voice, and she brings both moral clarity and compassion to some of the most difficult questions we face, especially when it comes to Israel and Palestine. Sara comes from a family that deeply values coexistence and shared progress. Her partner is part Palestinian and Latino, and shares her deep commitment to public service. Her father has been intentional in investing in and developing companies in Nazareth with the goal of fostering Israeli-Arab collaboration and opportunity. That commitment to bridge building clearly shaped the lens through which she approaches her public service, with empathy, openness, and a belief in the inherent dignity of all people. Her family stories remind us that empathy and justice are not abstract ideals, they're lived values. And those values are reflected in her work. Earlier this year, she introduced the Block the Bombs Act, groundbreaking legislation to ensure that U.S. military assistance reflects both our commitment to Israel's security and to the protection of human life. The morality and courage it took to lead on that bill as a Jewish woman in Congress speak volumes. She represents a new kind of leadership, one rooted in Jewish values, in B'Tselem Elohim, the belief that every person is made in the image of God, and in a vision of safety and dignity for all people. In a political moment that often rewards the loudest voices, Sara Jacobs has stood out for her thoughtfulness, her courage, and her commitment to a more just and humane world. Please join me in welcoming and honoring Congresswoman Sara Jacobs, our 2025 Congressional Champion of Justice.
Well, hi, everybody. And thank you so much, Lisa, for that incredible introduction. I am so incredibly, deeply honored to accept this award. Thank you for sending it to me, even though I couldn't be there in person, because this award from the New Jewish Narrative means so much. An organization that believes, like I do, that Israelis, Palestinians, and all people deserve peace, justice, and security. Last week, we recognized 2 years since October 7th, when Hamas attacked, kidnapped, and killed civilians in Israel. It also marked 2 years of Israel's devastating military campaign in Gaza that killed, displaced, and starved so many people. Babies in Gaza were so starved that it looked like their bones could pierce through their skin. People were shot while they were desperately trying to get a morsel of food in Gaza, and the parents and families of hostages, many of whom I've now met, agonized every single minute of every single day, hoping and praying that their loved ones were still alive and would come home. So while I'm incredibly relieved that the living hostages are now home and that some aid is getting into Gaza, this news feels a little bittersweet. Because I wish both President Biden and President Trump had used the full weight of our country's leverage so we could have found this resolution sooner and so that we could have ultimately saved more lives. That's why I helped introduce the Block the Bombs Act, which would prohibit the transfer of offensive weapons to Israel and demand Israel's compliance with US and international law. I think in order for Palestinians, Israelis, and the world to move forward, we cannot gloss over what's happened in the past 2 years. We can't mask the pain that's been caused and just think that we can wipe the slate clean. We need to get justice for the atrocities and crimes that have been committed, work with our regional partners to ensure that this ceasefire holds, and focus on how to find lasting peace and security for Israelis, Palestinians, and the region. I know this work is far from easy. These issues bring up a lot of emotions and sensitivities and are so personal to so many of us. But this work is too important to delay or pass along to the next generation. And that's why I'm so honored to be doing this work alongside all of you in the new Jewish narrative, so we can bring more humanity and understanding to this situation. So thank you so much for this award and for everything that you do. I'm so honored. Thank you again.
Thank you, Congresswoman Jacobs, for all that you do for the cause of peace. When I heard we were honoring a member of Congress, I decided to contribute in the only way that I knew that I could, which was to wear the socks that I own, honoring one of my favorite members of Congress, which is my Bernie Sanders socks. So bringing Bernie into the room through my footwear. All right, I'm excited to move us along. So, all right, next up, we are honoring the legacy of one of our board colleagues, Ted Friedman, who we lost over the summer. We've prepared a video in his memory.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Norwich. I'm a board member of New Jewish Narrative. I'm disappointed that I can't be with you all in person, especially with Ken, but I'm honored to be here tonight remotely, remembering my dear friend and colleague, Ted Friedman, whom we lost over the summer. Ted was not only a founding member of the board of Amenu, he was also on the board of APN, and then joined the board of New Jewish Narrative, a progressive trifecta, bringing his deep love for Israel and his keen analytical mind to the task of finding a path to peace. As Ken has said in remembering him, Ted pushed us all to think creatively and to take action when and where necessary. Through the years, Ted helped represent Amenu at the Conference of Presidents and demonstrated the ability to stay steadfast in his beliefs while engaging with those who saw things very differently. Ken notes that he was with Ted for his last trip to Israel on a conference leadership mission. Ted was born Theodore Herzog Friedman in 1931 in the Bronx, joined Habonim as a child, and attended University of Michigan as an undergraduate, where he helped pay for college by working in auto factories. He graduated from Harvard Law School. He was a leading personal injury trial lawyer in New York City, tried over 200 jury cases, and also successfully argued 2 cases before the US Supreme Court. He was generous with his time and regularly offered pro bono legal help to Amenu, particularly reveling in his successful defense of the organization in light of ZOA's complaint against us at the Conference of Presidents. Malcolm Gladwell interviewed Ted for his 2008 book, Outliers, that looked at how some people achieve extraordinary success in life. In 1962, Ted married Eve Preminger, who had been one of the few women in her graduating class at Columbia Law School and was a longtime surrogate court judge. Together, they were quite the power couple. Eve also died this summer, 2 weeks after Ted, after 63 years of marriage. They are survived by their two daughters, Sara and Wendy, and 5 grandchildren. Ted, Ken, and I held many lunches over the years where we would repeatedly fail to solve the world's problems. I already miss him deeply and know that his memory will be a blessing and inspiration for family and friends.
Thank you, Sam. I know Ted would have really enjoyed our next speaker, our friend and colleague in interfaith work, Hala Hijazi, who flew all the way from the Bay Area to be with us here tonight. Hala is Palestinian American, and we are grateful for her partnership. Hala.
Assalamu alaikum and shalom. We gather, it's a blessing to be here with you tonight, breaking bread, especially as we gather at a time when moral clarity is rare. Thank you to Hadar for your invitation and for your moral clarity and courage. In a time when silence becomes complicity, you have chosen clarity and love and faith. Thank you for your hard work, your principled voice, and for opening space for Palestinian stories in rooms where there are too often absent. Your leadership reminds us of what accountability looks like. You've had the courage to name this moment for what it is. For the past 2 years, I've had the privilege of working with Hadar and New Jewish Narrative. I deeply value and respect our partnership. Their steadiness in moments of grief and backlash and their commitment to principled dialogue have strengthened me and so many others in this room and so many others in my community. My name is Hala Hijazi, and I do stand here before you as a Muslim, as an Arab, as a proud Palestinian, as an immigrant, and as someone who has devoted her entire life to dignity, justice, and freedom for all people, especially for my own. I'm also here in mourning. Over 100 members of my family in Gaza have been killed. Just last month, my 22-year-old cousin, who loved poetry, was killed while searching for water. He's not a statistic, he's my family, not numbers, but a name, not collateral child. This kind of grief that takes your breath and still asks you to speak and be here. So I will speak plainly. We named this genocide, not as a slogan, but as a reality endured by my family and so many like mine. And we still insist on peace that ends the famine, the occupation, the siege, ends the erasure of people's right to live and to flourish alongside our Jewish brothers and sisters. There is now a ceasefire, and yes, we welcome it, and we insist it be more than a pause. The ceasefire is the start of a process, not the end of one. A bridge to justice, accountability, and equal rights, measured by the lives it saves and the freedoms it secures. I'm here at a Jewish gathering because solidarity is not about comfort, it's about courage. Your presence tonight is a form of courage. New Jewish Narrative has chosen courage. You have said it, not in our name. You've called out genocide. You have refused to let Judaism be weaponized to justify injustice. That matters. We see it and we honor it. Our faiths call us to the same moral horizon. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught us, none of you truly believes until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself. And he is not a believer whose stomach is full while his neighbor goes hungry. The Quran commands care for the near neighbor and the distant neighbor, honoring the orphan, feeding the hungry, and greeting those we know and those whom we do not know. And the Torah insists, justice, justice shall you pursue. These are not poetic ideals, they are obligations. If we truly live by them and by the Constitution's promise of liberty, we would stop all this madness. Tonight, I honor all who labor for a just peace, Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Palestinian, Israeli, those who protest, who speak out, who risk comfort and reputation to say, not in my name, not in our name. Coretta Scott King once said, struggle is a never-ending process. Freedom is never really won. You earn it and win it in every generation. I want to repeat that because it's really important because this is where we are. Struggle is a never-ending process. Freedom is never really won. You earn it and win it in every generation. So let us win it in ours. Let us turn love into power. Let us make sure we secure all the hostages, the living and the dead, the Israelis and Palestinians, end the siege and the collective punishment, and freedom of movement. Protect free speech and dissent so no one is punished for insisting that every life is sacred. Let us build bridges that do not collapse under the weight of history. Let us make common cause against all forms of hate, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, anti-Black racism, anti-Asian violence, because our liberation is bound together, and so is our responsibility. No child's safety requires another child's fear. No people's freedom requires another people's chains. Never again is a covenant with every people. Yes, I am a Palestinian in grief, but I'm also your sister in faith, a believer in what we can do together. If we are brave, if we stay organized, if we keep choosing each other over the lies that divide us, then the arc will not only bend, it will move because we push it. Tonight, we choose the work of our generation. May we carry the memory of the dead as a command to the living. May our love of life outmatch the machinery of death. May our solidarity outlive our silence and end this genocide and turn the ceasefire into lasting freedom. Thank you, shukran, toda rabba, salam, and shalom.
Thank you, Hala. We're so grateful to you for all that you do and for our work together, and that you made the trip to join us here tonight. I now have the pleasure to introduce our next musical guest, Noam, Noah, a brilliant singer and songwriter, and a beautiful human being whose pleas for peace in the region are known around the world. We are so pleased Noah has agreed to share some thoughts with us tonight.
Shalom, everybody. I am Noam, or Noah. I'm very, very proud and happy to be with you in this NJN event. I'm making this video from Israel, from my home, on a fateful day, October 11th, 2025. As I speak, hundreds of thousands of people have flooded into Hostage Square in Tel Aviv to stand by the families of the hostages as they eagerly await the return of their loved ones, our loved ones, alive or dead. At the same time, hundreds of thousands of Gazans are returning slowly, by foot, with their parcels and their broken hearts, to what is left of their home. It is a day of great, great sorrow and joy, of hope and fear, a vortex of emotions. So where is all of this going? That is the big question. We can allow ourselves a moment to breathe, a moment of relief. Here in Israel, it's been a nightmare with the hostages and the hostage families and the bereaved families and the families of the soldiers and the incredible tension and the horrible, horrible government. And in Gaza, oh Lord, it's been a nightmare, an absolute nightmare, a catastrophe, massacre and the starving and the killing and the poor Gazans clamped between the Israeli army and Hamas. I mean, wow. And the international community and the pressure and the demonstrations and the hatred and the anti-Semitism and all the demons and all the anger and the, wow. But friends, I have to tell you, I am optimistic. I know that even though right now we feel a river of tears and a sea of sorrow, between the river and the sea, there is room for two people to be free. And this horrible tragedy has given us an opportunity that we never could have dreamed of otherwise. It is true that the victims in Israel and the victims in Gaza are martyrs. They are martyrs on the altar of the awakening of the consciousness of both peoples, that we are one, that we are connected, that we are one living entity, all of us, and that if one of us suffers, the other cannot be free. So with this understanding and this awareness that is just budding in the hearts of so many people, we will move forward. And we needed this tragedy. Without it, there was complacency, there was oblivion. We were just going about our business thinking that things would work themselves out, at least in Israel, that's how we felt. And Gazans and people in the West Bank and Palestinians in general, you know, I don't even know what they were going through. I know that many of them were suffering greatly. And as a peace activist of 30 years, I was involved in so many movements and am involved in so many organizations and so many efforts to really open the eyes of both sides to the pain, the longing, the narrative, the rights, the dignity of each other. But now that this explosion, this volcanic explosion, this horrible, horrible cycle of bloodshed has come into our lives and has ended, at least for the moment, we can stop for a moment and we can think, what is this all been for? It cannot be for nothing, and it is not for nothing. It is for us to take the opportunity to reach out to each other, to truly see each other. Israel will never be able to live in security if the Palestinians are not free. And the Palestinians will never experience freedom if Israel cannot live in security. You must understand that between the river and the sea, there are millions of people and none of us are going anywhere. And we can and we will find a way to live side by side. I'm hopeful, dear friends. And I know that all of the demons from Pandora's box that have been released into the world will all go right back inside as soon as we truly understand what our mission is now. To work together for peace, to work together indefatigably, because I know, like this sign behind me, made by my friends in Unacceptable, that from the river to the sea, only peace will set us free. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Noah. I am so excited to welcome up another comedian, another one of my favorites, and a good friend, Orli Matlow, who will join us with some observations about the new reality we find ourselves in this week. Also, be sure to check out her amazing and hilarious podcast, War is Stupid, an anti-war podcast about war. And if you're nice to her, maybe you can also get one of these very cool stickers. All right, welcome, Orli.
Thank you so much. Yes, I have a bag of stickers. I only ordered 500, so please do not be shy. Yes, my name is Orli Matlow, Orli Adina Matlow, so double Hebrew. I am not Israeli, but my parents didn't know that when they named me. I grew up in Toronto, so if you see me, oh yay, oh my gosh, woo, excellent. Okay, Jays are up 2-1. If you if you see me looking at my phone, it's not because I'm popular or chas v'shalom looking at the news, but because the Toronto Blue Jays are playing in the ALCS. This is very exciting. So I'm Canadian, so I know that a binational state is possible. It can be done. I grew up there. If the Quebecois and the Ontarians can live side by side in harmony, and anyone can, because people like to say it's complicated. Peace is not complicated. The last 2 weeks have showed us the latest peace deal was literally brokered by that guy from The Apprentice. You know that like NBC show from the early 2000s? Like that guy, he went from Home Alone 2 to the peace summit in Sharm el Sheikh, with some steps in between. But the point still stands. If he can do it, anyone can. Yes. And I know everyone here is likely too good a person to have gone around and said, I told you so. That yes, it was indeed ceasefires, not military force, that brought the hostages home alive. Yes. And even though it being proven right after 2 years of death and devastation doesn't undo the death and devastation, I do want to give everyone an opportunity to say, I told you so. So feel free to turn to your neighbor and say, I told you so. You were right. The hostage families were right. Palestinian families were right. We know Palestinians are also not their government, and Americans, I hear. I don't know, I'm Canadian. I've only ever lived in Toronto or New York City, so I don't understand this country at all either. But yes, you were right. The prime minister was wrong. The majority of lobby groups were wrong. The paid propagandists who became war profiteers were wrong. And yeah, I'm a comedian, so the pro-war comedy and like social media, whatever, like really offended me ethically, morally, and comedically. It sucks. Like fucking Michael Rappaport. Like I know why Phoebe dumped your ass in season 5 of Friends. That's that's a deep cut. He played a cop on season 5 of Friends. He's no Mike. He's no Paul Rudd. But yes, I grew up in Toronto. I live here now. But Israeli politics have been part of my life, my whole life, which is why I've been on Prozac since I was 14. Israel is my Florida. My grandpa lives there half the year. My cousins are there year round, and they're surrounded by religious extremists with guns. Tel Aviv is, of course, the Miami, the fun beach party town, the gay oasis. And then that makes Jerusalem is Orlando, because it's quite literally the Epcot of monotheism. The old city it's a small world after all of Abrahamic religions and also Armenians. Shout out to the Armenian quarter. Deep cut, gotta get to all 4. That's why there's 4 quarters. I'm incredibly grateful to be part of New Jewish Narrative because as you could tell, I do not like the old Jewish narrative. As Mick mentioned, I started a podcast called War is Stupid, an anti-war podcast about war.
So you can see that I keep my cards close to my chest. I like to play it coy, play it cool. And I started the podcast because I was really frustrated with protests about divesting from weapons manufacturers being presented or reported as anti-Semitic when, to me, there is nothing Jewish about weapons manufacturing. I was not bat mitzvahed at Lockheed Martin. I did not grow up going to Elbit Systems every Saturday with my family. Raytheon is not my cousin. My cousins are my cousins, and I hate to see them conscripted into forever meaningless wars. My cousin in Jerusalem, in Orlando, has two little boys. It's just changed everything for me in my perspective. A 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I can't imagine not doing everything possible to make sure that they don't live in doing everything possible to make sure they live in a better world and don't have to be drafted to help Bibi cling to power, because we know that man is immortal and he will cling through 2075. So we have a lot of work to do. I'm getting emotional because I want for my cousins what I want for Hala's cousins, what I want for everyone's cousins. This is a beautiful evening. We have a lot of work to do, and I'm grateful to be doing it with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, we've reached the midpoint of our program. No, we haven't actually. We're a little further along than that, but I will say it is a long program. But and I know I'm up here talking to you, and you're just out there listening to me. But I will say it's really been an incredible program. All the speakers and the performers have been really powerful and moving and hilarious. You figure out which ones were which. And really grateful to the team who put this together for all of us. All right, back to the actual program. So I'm really excited to initiate the presentation of our Peace Builder Award to my friend and colleague, Ken Bob. We have a video.
Quotation from Pirkei Avot, from the Ethics of the Fathers, would be meaningful to him, which is Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor. It's not on you to finish the work, right? But neither are you free to desist from it.
And he's got such an extraordinary energy.
Everywhere he goes, he's a leader.
He's basically a born leader.
He's a leader.
Ken's always a leader.
Ken was somebody we all looked up to.
Always say to him, "You look so young."
Our childhood is a shared experience.
He was my mother's favorite.
So it was filled with sports.
Was really popular. Like everybody loved Ken.
So Ken was really good at imitating Fran Tarkington, running around back and forth, scrambling in the backfield.
If he wasn't so compelled to make the world a better place, he would have been a sports journalist of some sort.
Core value of my brother. And that when he was a kid, he worked harder than everybody else.
That we were raised with this idea. You work with people to figure out, like, what are win-win solutions?
When the time is difficult, he devotes more time and more energy.
And I actually helped lead a walkout from our Los Altos High School.
He got Joan Baez to sing at his walkout.
Berkeley was an eye-opening experience.
I see this very welcoming, very charismatic
hippie. He had long hair. We were involved in Jewish student politics.
I was able to merge together all the parts of my identity and found amazing people to do it with. We really had a progressive Jewish community.
And they wanted to change the Jewish world.
In between Berkeley and going to Israel, I was elected as the national director of the Ho Habunim movement.
He had a tiger's mane of hair.
And so I lived in New York for 2 years.
We had no idea how young he was. So he had about 100 16 and 17-year-olds and then a staff.
I credit a lot of my leadership skills actually going back to being part of this Habonim youth movement,
Ken started the Habonim Dror Foundation.
which is the first alumni organization to help the Habonim Dror youth movement.
For many, many years, the end goal was to grow leaders who would move to Israel.
I remember very distinctly sending out the first fundraising letter from our dinner table with the kids helping to stuff the envelopes.
Over time, many of those leaders came back and then became involved in the American Jewish community.
When he moved to Israel, what he communicated to me was like, I can really make a difference in this young country.
From the time that I joined the kibbutz, I was asked to become the treasurer.
He had run a glue factory on the kibbutz.
I often joke that I was the capitalist for the socialists.
By rebuilding this kibbutz, I can help make Israel a sustainable, progressive, positive place.
He's an odd sort of personality. He doesn't have the neuroses that the rest of us have.
But David came to me and said, look, I want to start a software company. I'd like you to run it.
We had a prototype we wanted to show to airlines.
And I said, David, I know nothing about software,
He had me call every airline we could think of in North America.
nothing about transportation logistics. And he said to me, yes, but you know how to run a company.
I run the business now. And the way I'm able to run the business is, since I'm not a natural businessman, is I just think in situations, well, what would Ken do?
There was an organization called the Labor Zionist Alliance that had existed for probably 100 years. I was brought in to be a member of a strategic planning committee.
Aminu grew out of Ken's vision to revitalize the legacy organization of the Labor Zionist movement.
There was a role for a progressive Zionist organization in America in 2004, but the Labor Zionist Alliance wasn't it.
Ken built Aminu from the ground to a organization that had a real voice in the Jewish community.
I'm very proud of the work Amenu did, both within the Jewish community, the broader community, directly with our Israeli counterparts.
Ken has always brought in the perspective of the other, of tikkun olam, let's call it.
And so being able to do something concretely on the ground between Israelis and Palestinians was very attractive. That became known as Rosanna.
All of our projects aim to close the gaps in the Palestinian healthcare system. Even throughout the last 2 years of war, we've been able to bring Israeli and Palestinian healthcare workers, nurses, physiotherapists, doctors together.
We've launched a mobile clinic in Gaza.
All of our projects have Israeli and Palestinian partners.
All kinds of programs where it would have been easy for people on both the Israeli and the Palestinian side to say, we're taking a break, did not take a break. If I look at what gives me hope in these really dire times, it's actually the activity of Rosanna. As dim as things look right now, there are a lot of people out there who don't want to give up. The idea of a merger to create the new Jewish narrative came along. It really seemed like a great combination. Less than a year into the merger, that we are in a good place in terms of being able to carry out a broader, more extensive activism agenda.
He's a lovely guy.
And I think meaning is really central to everything he does.
He's a wonderful brother.
Amazing ability to see people, make them feel at home.
I've grown to have a great admiration for Ken.
He's the best friend you can imagine having.
I miss him. I miss him in my life.
I would say to the next generation of activists here in America, seek out your like-minded colleagues in Israel, and also in the Israeli context, to quote one of my favorite lyricists, you got to keep on keeping on.
At least that's what it's supposed to be.
Shalom, dear friends, from the President's residence from Jerusalem to all of you at the New Jewish Narrative Gala across our live beating heartline. It means so much to me to be able to share my congratulations with all of you, and especially with my dear friend, Ken Bo. As you gather to honor and salute him for a lifetime of leadership, vision, and heart in service of the Jewish people. And it is no secret that my friendship with Ken goes many years back. Through his many leadership roles at the Jewish Agency, the WZO, Amenu, Tnuat Avoda, Habonim Dror, I've seen the core principles that have driven him remain unchanged. Ken has a fierce commitment to the Jewish people, a heartful, liberal, and pure Zionism rooted in the ambition for equality, harmony, and humanity between people. He has an unwavering conviction that a peaceful and secure future for the state of Israel is possible. And most of all, he has a willingness to step forward with his many gifts to actively create the reality he would wish to see for our people. What you call Hineni, at such critical times for Israel and for the Jewish people, with our hostages still languishing in Hamas captivity and an ongoing trail of heartbreak and grief, there's so much value in recalling the deep gifts and resources we carry, all of us together. The pure hearts, fine minds, and able hands of people who bring their best forward for our people. They are the comfort and they are the proof. We belong to a story that is much greater than any one of us at any moment. We will overcome, and we shall overcome these difficult times, and we will rise again, and we will rebuild. Mazal Tov, dear Ken, and Mazal Tov to every one of you at NJN who continue to embody the heart and soul of our people and our purest ambitions for peace. Let's strive for peace. Let's strive to bring our hostages back home as soon as possible. Let's work for the day after. I wish us all Shana Tova. I wish you all Shana Tova and Bsorot Tovot. Thank you, dear Ken. Toda Rabba, Haverim.
So just two quick points before I start my introduction and award to Ken. I've known Ken for longer than Bougie Herzog, and two, conceptually, I am following the previous video, not this last one. So I have known Ken for 55 years, which is probably one of the reasons I was chosen to introduce him and present this award. I want to just say that it's not quite the advantage that you might think, because as Jenny Sherman pointed out, Ken is really consistent. Who he was 55 years ago is who he was 45 years ago and who he is today. Except during one period when we were in business together, maybe a third of the way through our friendship, I learned something else. We talked about Ken as a leader. I want to talk really briefly about Ken as a teacher. Not the kind of teacher that gives lectures, but the kind of teacher who's closer to a mentor, and in a very special way, some of you probably have had this experience. Ken can teach you how to do something he does not know how to do. And partly he can do that because he sees who you are and knows what you're capable of. And partly it's just this weird kind of magic I don't know that I've seen at anybody else. Ken and I played together on a basketball team 54 years ago called the Elders of Zion, which entitles me to finish this up with a conceptualization that's actually a sports metaphor from basketball. Ken is the player coach, the point guard, who teaches the center, who is a foot taller and 100 pounds heavier, how to box out on rebounds. And now I'm going to give this award to Ken. Then take a picture. Take this down.
Whew. Well, thank you, David, for that introduction and some disclosing some secrets. Our basketball team just wasn't that good, but we had a good time. In watching the video that was put together in my honor and the warm words from President Herzog, I reflect upon the thread that really goes through my life that formed me, beginning with my late parents, Fred and Shirley Bob, my siblings who you met, Steve and Ellen through the video, joining Habonim at age 12 in Minneapolis. Our family moved to California. You saw my ability to get Joan Baez to come to a rally. Happy to talk to you about that during dessert. It was very cool. And the activism at Berkeley and our Radical Jewish Union. Then, while serving as the Mazkir of Habonim, as you heard in the video, we formed a Garin Tohu and moved to Kibbutz Gezer. The subsequent 14 years in Israel really established my adult sense of community, of Zionism, Jewish peoplehood, as well as a deep commitment to address the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and Israel's general place in the world. Upon returning to the U.S. to start the software company that David described in the video, I began a new chapter, and that was renewing my activism now here back in America. I was tempted to try to go through and mention every partner organization I've worked with that's represented here at the dinner. And this is both colleagues who are professionals, who are lay people, but I was afraid that I would forget someone, so I'll just do it collectively. I want to thank you all of you who I've worked together in various capacities, various organizations. My life continues to be enriched by knowing you, from learning from you, and doing good work together. You all know who you are, and I really want to make sure this thank you gets through to all of you. I also am deeply touched by the number of family members and friends who are here today live or watching on the live stream. I walked in today. I had not seen a list of who was going to be here. There were many surprises, and I'm really deeply touched. Considering the historic developments over the past week, there's no way I can speak tonight without mentioning some of the events over the last 2 years that impacted me personally and our activism. And as many of you know, I was in Israel on October 7th, 2023, and experienced in real time the horrific events of that day. And when we turned on our television in our Jaffa apartment, the first casualty announced was Ophir Lichtenstein of Kibbutz Kfar Aza, who was also the head of the regional council. Well, this hit me hard on 2 levels. I spent my first extended period of time in Israel as a volunteer on Kibbutz Kfar Aza, and I've maintained relationships there since. In addition, Ophir was a relatively new friend of mine. I'd gotten to know him through our mutual involvement with Habonim Dror and his vision for a regional council engaging with peace building bordering Gaza. In parallel, already stunned by the tragic events unfolding, I was texting on that morning with my dear friend Vivian Silver as terrorists entered her home on Kibbutz Be'eri, set it on fire, killing her. And we soon learned that the brother and sister-in-law of one of our closest friends in Kibbutz Gezer, Lee Siegel, had been taken hostage from their home in Kfar Aza. I mention these examples not to suggest that I was impacted in a greater degree than many others. The contrary is actually true. But since that time, I just feel that this has become central to our lives, and just not now, but also going forward. In the first weeks of the war, I spoke from Israel on both APN and Amenu Zoom programming about the situation on the ground. And since that time, together with many of you, I've demonstrated, spoken at rallies, marched and lobbied, both in the US and in Israel, for a hostage deal, an end to the war, and aid for innocent Gazans. Guess what? As I have learned going back to my teenage years, rallying for Soviet Jewry, anti-war demonstrations against Vietnam, and so much more, demonstrating not only is good for your soul, but it actually works. Certainly in the case of the war in Gaza, the massive demonstrations here and around the world, the hostages traveling around the world and visiting with any politician that would have them, had impact. And I think it's an important lesson of the many lessons we're taking away from these last 2 years. Activism is essential and works. I flew back from Israel on Tuesday to be here and had the opportunity to be in Hostage Square on Monday to share the experience of the release of the hostages with tens of thousands of my closest friends. And when not at the square, I was glued to Israeli television, taking in the coverage of the family reunifications. It was so incredibly moving, but I want to share just one story as it directly intersects New Jewish Narratives work. In July of 2024, when Bibi came to Washington to speak to Congress, APN organized an outstanding alternate program on Capitol Hill to coincide with Bibi's speech. Yehuda Cohen, the father of the recently released hostage Nimrod, joined APN and Amenu leaders as we wandered around searching for an open entrance to get into a lockdown Capitol building. It was really hot as well. Walking with Yehuda, I learned about his son Nimrod, who was the only surviving member of a tank crew. All the other members were killed and taken captive, including the commander, Omer Nutra, who grew up in the Long Island community and attended the same Solomon Schechter school as my children, the children of others who are here tonight. Yehuda told me that he decided he was going to focus his advocacy for the hostages on trying to convince American Jewish leaders to support prioritizing the hostages over an unobtainable total military victory. I asked Yehuda what experience he had in advocacy work within the American Jewish community. He said none. But this is what he took on as his challenge. Subsequently, I would see Yehuda at various demonstrations here in the US. I worked with him on a letter of American Jewish organizations in support of the hostages. And most recently, I was with him lobbying Chuck Schumer just a couple weeks ago with a group of J Street board members. Meanwhile, his wife Vicky was a constant presence as a speaker at Israeli rallies. Seeing their first hugs with Nimrod on TV on Tuesday brought me to tears. And coming in this morning, I heard that he was back home in Rehovot with his family by the end of the week. And it's really wonderful for me to see, and I just congratulate his parents for their unbelievable activism, along with all of the parents and all the family members of the hostages. The hostage situation will not be over until the remaining deceased hostages are located and returned to their families for proper burials. We all can appreciate how logistically complicated that is, and it will definitely require international help, but it just must be done. Several of you asked me or observed that I was still wearing my yellow ribbon on my suit. This is my personal decision. I'm not taking off my yellow ribbon, and I'm not taking off my dog tag that I wear until everyone is back. Now, along with all of you, I followed the Trump spectacle and won't go into that now. I think it's important to stress, however, that the next phase of the Sharm el-Sheikh initiative, and sorry, but I just can't call it a peace deal yet, I do believe there is enough in the second phase to really create the necessary momentum to pursue a peace process with a both top-down diplomatic aspect and bottom-up effort to improve lives through Israeli-Palestinian cooperation. As you heard about in the video, I'm involved with Rosanna and New Jersey Narrative, with incredible foresight, provided seed funding to help launch the current iteration of our Rosanna Gaza tent clinic last month. We subsequently received additional funding from the Washington Jewish Communal Fund, and this is going to be very critical because now with the ceasefire, we're in a position to radically expand the clinic operation and get the needed medical supplies into Gaza. I want to share that a week ago, literally today, I spent the full day on the West Bank with Rosanna's Israeli and Palestinian teams for a joint session of strategic thinking and planning. And I have to tell you, just listening to them, following their thought process, filled me full of hope because of the people and the projects. I want to end with thank yous. Thank you again to all my friends and colleagues here in New York and those watching online. A big thanks to Karen, Hadar, and the rest of the NJN staff for putting together this wonderful evening together, and to the NJN board members for bestowing this honor upon me. Finally, special thanks to my wife Nancy, my children Shani, Amit, and Netta, and their partners for their incredible support and understanding, which allows me to give time, energy, and yes, money to organizations and causes, and to my grandchildren who give me the inspiration and strength to continue on. So folks, I ain't done yet, and thank you very much.
Wow, what a wonderful evening this has been. We know we're the last speech of the night, so we will be brief. We will certainly try.
After all, there's still dessert, and we hope a little bit of schmoozing still left to do.
First, I want to thank all of you for joining us this evening, both those of you who are here in New York tonight, as well as those watching via live stream from around the world. Nomi and I also want to thank our wonderful President and CEO, Hadar Susskind, for his vision and leadership.
A huge toda wa shukran to our speakers and performers. Hadar and Ken already thanked our staff, but we know that everything we do cannot succeed without them. So their titles and last names are in the back of your gala program. But to Max, Madeline, Eli, Rob, Karen, and Noam in alphabetical order by last name, we thank you so much for everything you do.
Our wonderful board of directors is so large that time doesn't allow me to thank each member individually, but I want to say it's been a pleasure working with each and every one of you. I do want to express special gratitude to our communal and development committee chair, Shana Wasserman, for helping make tonight's gala such a success. I want to thank tonight's honorees, Congresswoman Sara Jacobs and Ken Bob. Congresswoman Jacobs, thanks for your tireless leadership during this difficult time for our country and for Israel and Palestine. Ken, it's been such a pleasure working with you over the past year. Nomi, since you've worked with Ken for so many years, I think it's only appropriate for you to offer some personal words of gratitude.
Ken, when you speak last, the question is, what can you say that has already not been said before? But of course, I found words. I can start by saying that I still remember you walking into a seminar in a blur in my days of Habonim Jorit winter seminar many moons ago. And there was an awe of respect that wasn't always given at that time. And then I jump forward approximately 15 years, give or take, to you calling me to discuss joining you to turn the Labor Zionist Alliance into a menu. In those days, I was the youngest person in the room, and nothing makes me happier than saying, I am no longer that person. You have guided me on this journey to leadership, for which I thank you most of the time. You are a builder, a bonnet of networks, and to paraphrase Aleph Dalet Gordon, you are always looking to increase the light of hope, the light of peace. This is not the end of our cooperation, and Tom and I look forward to continuing our work together and deepening our friendship in the years to come.
I want to express my gratitude to New Jewish Narrative. Here, I found my home, where I can pursue my passion for progressive social change with my deep, abiding love for Israel. I'm honored to have the opportunity to give my time and energy and a little money to New Jewish Narrative's vital mission for peace and justice for both Israelis and Palestinians.
Whether you have been part of our progressive community for a long time or you've just found us, we invite you to deepen your connection with us at New Jewish Narrative. Join us at our next online webinar, sign on to an action alert, and let your members of Congress know where you stand, or join one of our demonstrations across the country. Follow our weekly email updates about our work, check out our website, newjewishnarrative.org, and let us know if you'd like to have someone from our staff and our lay leadership visit your community for a house meeting or another type of event. We, of course, also welcome financial contribution you can make to NJN. Join our movement and pitch in any way you can.
We'd like to conclude tonight's gala with a performance by the talented Israeli and Palestinian members of the Jerusalem Youth Chorus. Despite all the hatred and violence around them, these young people have committed themselves to coming together to create beautiful music.
These gifted and courageous young individuals serve as an inspiration for us all. If these brave and talented folks can create beauty and amid their broken societies, maybe, just maybe, we can keep hope alive here in North America.
May our dreams for peace be realized. Good night.
Laila Tov, Tisbach Alecher.
And here is the Jerusalem Youth Chorus.
There at the edge of the water, longest I can remember, never really knowing what. I wish I could be the perfect doctor, but I come back to the water, no matter how hard I try. Every turn I take, every trail I track, every path I make, every road leads back to the place I know where I cannot get, where I love be the light. And now I know how far it goes. If the wind in my sail on the seas is wonderful. There's just no telling how far I'll go.
סוף הכל מתנקז אליי, עניין של זוויות, לא מבין רמזים אולי, צבעים ואותיות. מבט חטוף אל עצמי ודי, רק לא להסתכל, מה שבפנים כבר בפנים מדי, קוראים לזה. בכל הכל آمن يقينا لا مستحيل لا مستحيل بالأمل آمن يقينا آمن يقينا اشتاق الأمل تحقيق المحال بثبات ستصل من قمم الجبال انظر للحلم البعيد وتكلم بالإيمان وإرادة من حديد فزد حلمك طبعا بنا
لا تمل هيا لتصنع الأمل لنجعل أرضنا بيت جميل
لا مستحيل بالأمل لا يحيل ما لنا مستحيل من يقين